All right. I'm starting to think I open the show the same way every week. I don't know. You guys have to tell me. I feel like I do that every week. I'm like, hey guys. But greetings. Happy Wednesday. This is the hardest part for me because I have all this excited energy and I know that the show is going to be amazing and I have to actually wait for you guys to get here. So while you all come on in the room, I'm going to take a moment to share this out. If you are one of my incredible replay rock stars, I want you just to give me a hashtag replay. Let me know you're here so that I can show you some love as well. And it's going to be, I know I say that every episode, but it's because, guys, I mean, really, I only bring you the best guests. So really, it's going to be phenomenal today. I'm super excited. All right, let's go ahead and share this out. Now, if you've been here before, you have seen me, and I believe that the Lord keeps me humble because sometimes I struggle in sharing the video out. Yes, me, the lady who's certified in digital marketing. Okay, so here we go. Let's start this good old watch party. Okay, this was easy today. Look at the Lord giving me extra grace. Come on, Jesus. Yes. All right, watch party started. It did not take me 5 minutes like it normally does. Y'all been praying for me? Let me find out. Let me find out my viewers been praying for me. Like, Lord, please help Tiffany because every week she can't share the video. We don't know what's going on. Hey, Gersha, what's going on? Welcome. Listen, if you are an entrepreneur, author, speaker, you know someone who is, this is not one of those episodes that might be for you and might not. This is for everybody. And I know that goes against everything I teach with branding. Like, nothing's for everybody. No, this one's for everybody. So share this out. I just took a moment to do so. And actually, I meant to tag my lovely guest. I think I'm going to take a quick second to do that. Will it let me? Yes, it will. Okay. And then we're going to get going, guys. I'm just excited because this topic is near and dear to my heart, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about that. All right. So let's give this another. Here we go. Save. Now she is tagged in my post. Let's see. Okay. I don't think it actually. Okay. All right. Hello, Michael. What's going on? Michael, I declare that you probably, if there was an award for attendance to Kingdomboss Masterclass, you would absolutely win. I love it. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. Let me introduce you to our phenomenal guest today. There's a lot I could say about her, but I'm going to actually take the time to actually read her bio, and then we'll get into it. So Sherrell is the creator of Mind, Body, Faith. She resides in the DC metro area with her family and has always had a passion for educating and helping those in pain. Sherrell has had her fair share of challenges with arthritis, depression, anxiety, and racial trauma. But through it all, Sherrell held on to her faith, incorporating contemplative and wellness practices to support her health and well-being. Her personal wellness journey and renewed relationship with Christ birthed Mind, Body, Faith, with a mission to promote health and healing through faith, holistic wellness practices, and products. Sisters Who Meditate, which is a group I'm a part of as well, is also an extension of Mind, Body, Faith, offering virtual support to women with a desire to cultivate a spiritual practice of prayer and Christian meditation to deepen their relationship with God. Now, if you're a brother watching this, you can stay tuned in. This is for you too, okay? Sherrell is a proud military veteran, author, and mental health advocate. All right, if you are a veteran, why don't you drop it in the comments there so we can show you some love. She's taught over 1,000 hours, guys, of yoga and is considered an experienced registered yoga teacher with the National Yoga Alliance. She holds various certifications in the area of yoga, meditation, and natural and spiritual health. Notably, I Rest Yoga oh, I don't want to mess this word up. Nidra meditation level 1. She'll tell me if I said that right. Informed by the teachings of Richard Miller and the iRest Institute. Restorative yoga for race-based traumatic stress injury, informed by the teachings of Dr. Gail Parker, and Christian and biblical meditation, informed by the teachings of Dr. K.D. Weaver and Sleeping with God Meditation Center. She is a member of the National Alliance on Mental Health, which is huge, and a certified natural health professional through Trinity School of Natural Health. With over 10 years of experience in the wellness industry, she loves traveling and teaching communities and families how to live a more meditative life, using contemplative and natural health practices for living well inside and out. That is just so great. I just got blessed off of the bio. Hi, Sherrell.
Hello, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
You know what? It's always a joy to have, like, you're like family. Like, this is one of my first coaching clients, guys. Like, way back when I started coaching. Many of you know, some of you know, some of you don't know. You hear me talk about, I've been in my business full-time for 8 years, but for the first 3 to maybe almost 4, I was only business to business.
Right.
And somewhere around 2015-ish, 2014, 15, people started knocking on the door. And I was like, well, I only work with companies, but.
Right.
So Sherrell was one of the first ones. So I think we learned a lot from each other.
Absolutely.
So welcome. It's always a pleasure to see you.
It's so good to be back here with you again, too.
So what's going on? Like, I read all of that fabulousness, right? But one of the questions I like to ask is, like, tell me something that's not in the bio. Tell me something about Sherrell that we can't get from the bio.
Wow. I would probably say, I mean, most people are very surprised that I'm a veteran, right? Because there's a perception of what a military service member looks like. So, but that's part of the bio. I would say that what is not part of the bio is I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. I was raised with a dog, and they just bring me so much joy. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine that is a psychologist, and she said during this time of COVID that families and single people have been getting pets. The uptick in adopting pets has gone up. So I think that's great.
That's really cool. That's so funny. Now, Gersha, if she's still watching this, is also a dog lover. She just got a new dog not that long ago. I know she's loving that. But I do actually know people, now that I think about it, who have been purchasing pets and getting back to their love for animals. And I'm sure that's good for their mental health.
Absolutely. Things just as simple as adding a family member, such as a furry baby, a pet, a bird, whatever, definitely has an impact on your mental health and well-being, since we're all spending a little bit more time at home.
I love it. Now we're gonna get into all the goodness, but we were talking off record, just saying hey and catching up. You were sharing a nugget that you learned from me during our coaching, which actually surprised me because I don't always remember I don't remember everything I say pour out. So, but I don't know, just kind of share what, and I'm definitely going to say some things I learned from you too, but what were some of the things you took away from our time together?
So one of the things that really stood out for me, and it was a golden nugget that I held on to for a long time, I prayed about it, and God finally manifested in my prayer. And that was being a solopreneur. You don't think that you really have the means or the financial means to hire people. That was a big deal to me a few years ago, but hiring doesn't necessarily look the same as what it did 20 years ago. There's lots of freelancers. Everybody's like a freelancer now. And so that was a landscape that I wasn't familiar with. Yeah. And a golden nugget that you shared with me is, Sherrell, continue to work in your area of genius and those areas that you can outsource. Yeah. Try to outsource. And I'm like, Tiffany, I don't have any money. How can I outsource? And you introduced me to, I think at the time it was called Upwork, maybe something. It was Elance, Upwork, whatever it was. But
Yeah.
all of those different platforms like Fiverr, where people are looking to, work in their area of genius, whether it's project based or, long term, short term. I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of that world. And so through prayer, I was able to go to one of those platforms and find a social media manager. I have to shout out Mo. She is amazing. She's been with me now for ever since maybe 2016 or so. She manages my social media. She's awesome.
I love it. You know what's funny? I'm like that. When you say that, I'm like, that sounds like me. That's something I say all the time. It's something I learned actually. And I say, play to your strengths and staff your weaknesses. Because
Yes.
I've learned in my own business that if I spend, like, I know what I charge per hour. And I'm like, if I spend 2 hours trying to figure something out that I could have just outsourced, I lost money that day. Like,
Yes.
and I'm sitting here and the things that I don't either enjoy doing or like there's different ways I've decided to outsource. Some things are just I don't like doing it now, right? Or if it's something that really just doesn't flow for my genius, one thing I finally figured out is that it just takes me a super long time. And that's
Right. The learning curve is so steep, right?
yeah. Or the procrastination. Let's be real.
Right.
Sometimes if I really hate doing it, I'm just at the computer all day. And I'm like, girl, do you know what you charge an hour? You just lost dollars. Like, get somebody else to do that. So I love that. Here's one of the things I learned from you. And this is so in alignment with our conversation today. And one of the reasons I love coaching, because with each of you, I have to really learn. I have to like really understand your industry, what you do before I can really flow in my genius. And so some of the big takeaways for me was like the power of breathing.
Yeah.
Like I taught my son that, and I think he was only, I don't know, 4 or 5. Like he was really young, but I noticed that sometimes he would be very anxious, or I noticed that he has my temperament, so he can be prone to stress. And so I was like, let me teach him early. Let me not wait until he's my age. And I started teaching him about like meditation and like deep breaths. And even now he's 10, but he uses that. I had no idea about how powerful. Honestly, I still have your DVD in here.
Oh, awesome.
I do. And I should have grabbed it. I still do those meditations because as we're going to talk about today, like sometimes it just can be a lot. It can be very stressful and the overwhelm. And like you, I'm someone who has really struggled with depression. So to get the victory over that, I'm like, sure, I know God will do his part, but I have to do my part too to like keep the stress low. So let's talk about that. Like this whole mind, body, faith and all of that. I don't even know where to start. You just start us off.
Well, God gave me this term, mind, body, faith, a few years ago, and I didn't really know what it meant. In my yoga practice, I really had a deep appreciation for the science of yoga, the way that it explained the mind-body connection. But for me, it didn't stop right there. It was also, I found that it was causing me to root down in my faith. And so God gave me mind, body, faith, the beautiful part of God that is based in science, but that part that you don't see that's based in faith. And he is that. He is all things. Yeah. And so mind, body, faith is really providing people with the opportunity to know that they can explore these holistic practices that they don't learn maybe in church or in faith communities, that it is still okay. It is part of God's nature and his design. He created these things and it can actually help you in your faith walk.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny that you said that because, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if you kind of sparked this in me. Because I've been in a journey where I am really just kind of unpacking how faith and science work together. I think for too long, we've made them fight and even kind of called stuff demonic and stuff that kind of wasn't. And I'm like, I understand why you might think that, but it's because we didn't have this science maybe 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So grandma didn't know. So she just said, oh, that's of the devil.
You're on it. You're on it, Tiffany. I use very simple analogies like, our ancestors didn't necessarily have the research and the studies, but they had science, but they didn't necessarily call it that. When I would get worried, I was, I'm still an introvert, but I was an introverted child and I would hold things in. And my grandmother would always tell me, you're going to worry yourself a hole in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is that, Grandma? What do you mean I'm going to get a hole in my stomach? Basically, what she was saying is that there's a connection that when you worry, that can have an impact on your digestive system where you can cause ulcers,
Yes.
right? Okay, so they didn't necessarily have the science. It doesn't mean that what they were saying wasn't relevant or true. We took it as anecdotal, but now we know it to be part of the realm of science.
Yeah.
So science is always there, but depending on the time period that we're discussing, it was called something different because time has evolved.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm thinking, it's actually funny. I am preparing to do a Facebook Live soon, but I'm treating it like a sermon. Like I'm really researching and pulling out scripture because I kind of want to talk about this on a broader scale. I saw somebody post something and they were calling some things new age that I know aren't. And I was like, I think I need to add some pieces to this conversation because science is catching up and faith. We're going to have to like catch our faith up to see how this connects, guys. This does not go against what God said. He said in his word, this, and this science is connecting that. So that's why I love what you do because there's just too many believers who love God, have God, but are still so stressed, not in good health, not sleeping well, don't have the peace that I believe is our birthright as children of God,
Absolutely.
So, oh my gosh. So what are you seeing through this pandemic, especially?
Yeah, I see people are having a difficult time sleeping. That is probably a top 5.
Yeah.
Falling asleep and staying asleep. Okay. I would probably say second to that is lots of stress in the neck and the shoulders. Lots of Black women that have actually not just Black sons, but Black daughters that when they leave the home, they're in a state of stress.
Yeah.
That we are accustomed to putting on smiles, but the neck locks up, the shoulders get tight until they come back home. So I see a lot of that. I would say sleep and stress actually manifesting in the physical body, that tightness, that are they going to come home? And your entire body locks up until they return home.
And so what are some of the meditative practices? And I feel like for us as a community, over at least maybe the last 10, however many years, I feel like this is kind of new. So we're on this learning curve together. Look at Gersha saying, yeah, the neck and shoulder pain is real. Absolutely. That tenseness. What are some of the practices that we need to really begin adding into our, whether it's daily or weekly, however often, to just kind of release some of that?
Yeah, and the thing is, Tiffany, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working inside the home, outside the home, or even you're a child, everyone is feeling the effects of COVID-19 and the various impacts. And one of the simplest things that we can do is really to breathe. Although it sounds simple and we feel like we're doing it all the time, we're not. I actually had the pleasure of working with a dear friend of mine from high school, and she wanted a private session with her daughter who is dealing with a lot of fear and stress around COVID. And I asked her, she was 8 years old, and I said, well, what happens when you get scared? How is your breathing? And she said, Miss Sherrell, I don't breathe.
Wow. Yeah.
So she has a consciousness and awareness that when she gets scared, she does not breathe. She holds her breath. And so we did some very simple breathing exercises using the language that a child would understand. And it's really all the same. With adults, I use language that adults will understand, whether you're having a difficult time in a workspace. We talk about breathing through projects, breathing through sales when they're up, when sales are down. And if you're working in the home, what that feels like as well. So, yeah. Oh, Oh, Tiffany, I think we froze. Hold on. Uh-oh. It looks like we lost Tiffany. I'm sure she'll be right back, but I'll continue to just share a few nuggets around breathing. Oh, there you are.
Apologies. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding.
Yes, very simple breathing exercises. Breathing from your belly, just like babies breathe, expanding the belly. As you exhale, release all of the stale air out of the lungs. Many of us here in the West, we just breathe from the chest. Somewhere along the way, especially, I can't speak for men, but as women, we were told to hold in our stomach at all costs. So you're holding in your stomach all day and you're just breathing from your chest. And that's not full, deep diaphragmic breathing.
Yeah.
Let the belly expand.
And it's funny because as a singer, of course, like I know that's how we're supposed to breathe, but I've had to let that translate into the rest of life and go, wait a minute, are you breathing that way? And that's kind of a telltale sign of a way I know I'm stressed is if I'm like locked up, it feels like there's almost a disconnect between this part of my body and here. And so a lot of times I'll kind of breathe through it to open this passageway back up. And actually my therapist, I love that my therapist does this. It's one of the reasons I chose her because she's very into how what you're feeling impacts your body. And so she starts off every session with that deep breathing. And it's like,
that's awesome.
To your body that is safe. And it's so pitiful because most of the time, just in the breathing, I'm like,
it's a release. Breathing is detoxifying. It's a release. It's so many things other than just the breathing keeping you alive.
Yeah.
Because God is the giver of the breath of life. And it's not, life is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Beginning.
I love it. What about meditation? Let me ask you this. I feel like just from the term, how we've used it in church for so long, I don't know that we understand that what meditation really is. I think we look at meditating as maybe just rehearsing some scriptures in our mind. Like, I don't think we fully know, like there's scriptures that tell us to meditate, but I don't know that I think we fully understand what that means. So talk to us about like what it is to actually meditate.
So when you look at just the term meditate, taking, any type of spirituality out of it is really just a method to focus, to concentrate. So I tell people, if you've ever studied for a test, a board exam, or you've been in school, you have done a form of meditation called concentration, where all of your focus is here. You draw in that data, you analyze it, and if you take a test, you're able to recall from that concentration and pass the test, right? And so when you break it down into something like that, people begin to understand we're meditating all day long. If you think about it in the very general sense, we have a default in our mind to where we can focus on certain things. Worry is a form of meditation. I think I told you before. So who is worried in their life? That's a negative form of meditation. Think about meditation. When you're sitting for 5-10 minutes thinking about what you want to eat, what you want to order, you're meditating. You're focusing on meals and foods and different things like that. So we all have the ability to meditate. So when people say, I don't know how to meditate, I'm not good at meditation. No, you're good at it. It's a meditation type that you're interested in that you feel like you haven't gotten the mechanics or the know-how to do it. But we meditate throughout life. Now, as believers, we're taught to meditate on the word day and night. When you look at that, when you look at those scriptures, you think, what does that mean? Does that mean just repeating the scriptures in my head? That could be a part of it. You can even meditate by saying the scriptures aloud or some type of biblical affirmation. But what is most important when it comes to biblical and Christian meditation is that you allow time to verbalize those scriptures and a time to release them for silence. because silence is the language of God. And so that is also what makes prayer different than meditation. It's a contemplative practice where you go within yourself, you meet God heart to heart in silence. Meditation is where the words don't have to be translated. You don't have to put on these elaborate terms and prayers and words. It's just a heart to heart experience. And many people, especially believers, we aren't really taught to just be alone with God. It's not about highlighting his attributes. You just want to be in his presence. And in his presence, there's transformation. That's what Christian and biblical meditation is really about.
I love that. Oh God, that's so powerful because like I said, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. I think really you sparked this in me because before you, I don't really recall having much exposure to that. And now it's such a woven piece. Like I have the Abide app and, like I can't say I do it every day, but I do it consistently. And I have learned the importance of like stillness and just taking a moment to literally just be still. And I think, I'm going to be honest, right? I think sometimes our trauma responses keep us just moving.
They do.
Yeah. So it's actually can be really hard for people. I see people and they just can't stop going. And it really actually takes a level of healing that God has to do within you so that you can even get to a space where you can sit back and just be still and rest and be okay and not feel unsafe or unsure. But it's such a beautiful place to come to in God. Like you said, where there are moments where I'm not saying anything. I'm just feeling his presence and his love. And we don't have to say anything. I'm just here with him. And it's like, this is great.
I love the fact that you brought up about the trauma response because there are segments of people, probably all of us, that are not accustomed to being alone, accustomed to silence, and it can be a trigger. And so that's why I really was adamant about getting trauma-informed training, especially for people of color, because silence can, from a societal standpoint, we've been conditioned that when there's silence, there's no life. Think about when you watch movies, when there's silence, something bad is going to happen. Wow. When there's silence at a funeral or homegoing, there's no life, there's no energy, it's void. Mm-hmm. So from a society standpoint, we tend to avoid silence. Mm-hmm. When someone is talking and then there's silence, we have to fill that space with something and we continue to talk. Yeah. Because there's something strange about it. It doesn't feel normal. Mm-hmm. And so we have to begin to practice even something like Abide, different meditation apps to begin to become more familiar and a little bit more comfortable with stillness and quiet.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting you saying that makes me think about even relationships with people. I noticed that the newer relationships, you feel this pressure to keep conversation going. But the more comfortable, like family, I can sit with them. We're not saying anything. We're just sitting there relaxing because we're comfortable in each other's silence, But somebody new, I feel like we shouldn't be quiet. We got to keep saying something. So that's a really good perspective that you gave. And I just want to encourage somebody who's watching this, who's dealing with all of because for me, this was my life before COVID, but now my attention to my mental health has been even more sharp, I mean, like I said, as someone who's overcome depression, I look at it like I'm going to keep my eye on my mental health every day for the rest of my life, because I know that any door the enemy ever comes in, he's going to always try to come back through that door. So just like a alarm camera has the camera at certain parts of the house, I'm like, that's the part of the house I will forever have the camera. I'm like, you're never getting in through that door. So for me, this is always, but now that COVID has hit, I really had to take it. Because to be honest, Sherrell, in the beginning, I was the one, my sleep was it was terrible. I could fall asleep, but I couldn't stay asleep.
Right.
And it was really a struggle until I said, all right, God, what I'm doing right now was obviously pre-COVID. We gotta do something else.
Yeah.
for me to feel comfortable again. And, you know, now I'm great. So yeah. What are some of the things you see that keeps people from meditating more, or like some of the things that they think in error, or like what keeps people from really enjoying the benefits of meditation?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, trauma response, they're triggered and they may not even understand why. It could be something as simple as just that silence reminds them of a time where they felt unsafe, maybe where someone violated them. So it really could be as serious as that, or it could be something as simple as my mind is really busy. I don't know what to think about, and you're trying to force something to happen. It could be boredom. It could be, this is unfamiliar, I feel uncomfortable. It's typically just those things, but you do have a segment of people that feel like they don't have enough time to meditate. But meditation doesn't take all day. It doesn't take 30, 20 minutes. You can meditate in as little as 3 to 5 minutes. So I believe that, you know, as long as you're here on this side of glory and you're breathing, you do have time to meditate.
Yeah. And it could be something as simple as something I started doing. I love it. Michael said, I use all of this in my teaching. That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. One of the things I've started doing is, because I noticed that I would just like rush up in the morning and get up and run. And so now I even like, before I get out, before I even lift my body, I just kind of lay there and just take a few deep breaths. And like, we're not good, because how I start the day, I continue the day. So if I jump up and I'm moving and going, and the whole day I just feel like I'm rushing and I'm moving. So I'm like, you know what? No, start your day in a peaceful rhythm. And so I'll just breathe and like, okay, and take a moment. And then I get up and I'm like, this is the energy. This is the pace I want to move through the rest of the day. I don't care how busy I am. I want to feel this level of relaxation and peace because I have a choice. I don't think we know that we have a choice, Sherrell, sometimes.
Yeah, you don't have to be on 10 all day. Who told you have to be on 10 all day?
Right.
And what I love to share, you know, with entrepreneurs, creatives, and artists is that, you know, you want to be able to be in this, on this journey for a while. You know, we always hear it's not a race, it's a marathon. So if you don't have certain routines and rituals or practices in place, you're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
So I encourage entrepreneurs to create a wellness plan. Just like you have a business plan, there are moments in your business that you can take a sabbatical. No one's saying that you have the money or the time to maybe take a 30-day sabbatical, but maybe instead of doing business on the weekend, you can dial back your business hours and have a sabbatical on Friday and Saturday or Sunday. Those are the types of things that you want to begin to implement so that you do have longevity in whatever you're doing. I had a friend that wanted me to do a meditation with her son, who's an artist. He's doing executive producing, working with some top producers like Timberland and some other people. And she wanted to help him to really hone a routine and a rhythm to where he can come out of that creative space. So if you're creative, you'll know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to go there as an artist. You have to feel that pain. You have to embody that pain in your body. But then you're your own person. So you have to leave that to come back to self. That is what meditation and breath work does. It allows you to go into that space, be that artist, be that creative in the fullness that God has given you. But you have to be able to reset, to remember who you are. You're not that person that carried that pain. You are just the vessel for that particular project, for that particular art. And once the art has been complete, it's time to come back. And so we simply did breath work and meditation over a Zoom so that he can begin to come back to himself when he is in those creative sessions. It works for anybody that's in any type of industry where you pour out your whole self to whatever art it is. You have to remember who you are and whose you are in Christ.
I love that. Javon says this is so good, very timely. Listen, I'm getting my whole life. And you know what that made me think of? It made me think of a couple things. We have like pastors and like ministry leaders here, even myself, you know, through COVID, still in the pulpit every week, even though we're just live streaming. And you're in this space where you're so used to pouring out, giving, serving, checking on people. that you've got to like disconnect and just take care of yourself. But even as entrepreneurs, I was thinking as you were describing the art and how we get into this zone where we're, you know, creating a class or making an e-course or writing a book, and those can be intense spaces.
Yes.
And so what I thought of was like, wow, that work. That's the same for us, that we got to be able to, okay, let me do that. Okay, let me come out of that zone. I can't live in that zone.
Can't live there. You just create there.
Yeah.
Just create there, but don't live there.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. I'm definitely repurposing that clip because that's so good. We could go on forever and ever. I'm gonna just clearly have to have you back for a part 2 of this, because so many people are stressed, and you cannot sustain a growing business or ministry from a place of stress and overwhelm. At some point, you have to tap back into the level of peace and wellness in order to really sustain it. And so, oh God, we're going to have you back. But tell us a little bit more. I know you've got some goodies. You got some candles and some things we can use.
So I tell you, these products really came from my heart, because the overall message of Mind, Body, Faith is always a good time to meditate with God. So it's all about meditating with God. And as an educational tool, I created these candles. So this is the newest candle. I think you can see it, Rest. And so each candle is from the Genesis collection, my favorite book in the Bible. And it really allows you to do what the candle says, rest. Each of the candles has a scripture that's associated with it. And what I'm hoping is that when you see the candle, when you take a moment to pause, that will prompt you to light the candle, to actually pause and meditate. As a kid, I remember growing up and being taught how to pray, but no one ever taught me to meditate. And so I'm hoping that these candles will be an indicator even for kids and families like, Mom, let's grab the candle. It's time to meditate with God. The first candle in the line is called Presence. This is the yellow candle because you can't flow and move in your gifting without the presence of God. So this candle specifically reminds us to seek after God's presence. And for people that need a little bit of help with starting out meditating, I have meditation prayer cards. And on each card, just like the different candles, you have the different colors of each card, and then you have a scripture on the back along with a meditative affirmation. And you simply say it in the silence of your mind or aloud, and this allows you to create your own meditative practice on your own if you're not doing something on audio.
I love that. And so I'm going to put up the website. It's mindbodyfaith.org, correct? Yeah. So guys, this is where you can go. Sherrell's got some incredible, it's a beautiful website. She's got the candles, and go check that website out. Check out the resources that she has to really help you go deeper in your own wellness and mind, body, faith journey. Listen, you may have normalized stress. I know for me, at some point, I just thought we just feel this way. It's life is stressful. But then God begins to show you that no, it doesn't have to be that way. I've created you to walk around in peace, and joy. And so I really pray that you will take the things that have been shared, check out her resources, and really allow God to take you into a deeper place. I have more things going on in my life than I ever have: music, ministry, business. But I'm at the greatest peace I've ever been. People are like, oh, you've got so much going, it's just busy. I'm like, no, not really. I'm just floating. But it's because I grabbed the new understanding that I don't have to be doing this. I can just put things in order and just be floating with God, And so I want that for those of you who are watching. You don't have to be stressed and overwhelmed and all these to-do lists. Who said that was the way? So Sherrell, tell us where we can find out more about you, follow you, all that great stuff.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things on my website that you already mentioned, mindbodyfaith.org. I have a 7-day meditation challenge, how to meditate with God. That's completely free. So if you're interested in that, you can just go to the website. I also have a sale coming up. So if you're interested in getting candles, I'm going to be doing a sale that's going to start on Friday and run through Monday. So definitely be on the lookout for that. For those that want to get a candle for yourself or a candle for a friend or a family member. But you can find me at mindbodyfaith.org, and you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Mind Body Faith. Mind Body Faith. Yeah.
This has been so good, and it's just always a pleasure. I've been in this season where I've just been so grateful for the clients that God's bringing me. And so even all the way back, like all throughout the years, I'm so grateful for the amazing people that are forever in my family. So thank you just for being you.
You. And I tell you, our time together, it really helped to build a foundation for me to continue to move forward on this journey and not to give up. So I thank you for the guidance that you provided.
Thank you. I love it. Give me one more nugget for somebody who's watching this. Give me some closing words about their mind, body, faith journey.
Yeah, I think that what I want to really encourage people is in this season of fall, which is a transitional season, don't resist rest, embrace it.
Mm,
Know that you're like, how am I resisting? There are many ways that we resist. We resist by continuing to stay busy, to not look at the animals in nature and how everything is beginning to slow down, less daylight hours. Nature and God is calling us to slow down. When you do the opposite, you're resisting.
mm,
So that doesn't necessarily mean that you just stop. It means that you simply slow down because God has something for you in this season.
mm. And for many of us, it's just Him, God, just more of His presence, which really solves 9.5 out of the 10 things that we are in. Not really, that's a whole nother life. But thank you so much, Sherrell, for being here. And thank you to all of you, my incredible viewers. You know, I call you guys my co-hosts, whether you're watching live or via replay. I really mean it. I am somebody who has gone from living in overwhelm to living in a state of peace that I didn't even, that feels unnatural sometimes. Like I'm just relaxed all the time, but I want that for you. I want you to experience a greater level of God's peace, of wellness in your literally mind, spirit, body, every part of you. And that's why we say here that we don't settle for mere success, but we thrive spirit, soul, body, and business, because that's a higher level. That's higher than success.
Yes.
So join us again on next Wednesday. We'll be here again at 6. We've got some really great content for you coming all month long. So make sure that you tune in here. And if you're not already on our list, what you doing? Now get on our CEO list. Go to kingdomboss.com. And while we are rebuilding the page, because we got some great stuff coming for you, you can still get on our CEO list by going to kingdomboss.com. Joining our Facebook community. We got some really good things coming toward the end of this year and in the beginning of the year. Yes, come on now. She said, you receive it. Come on, receive all of it. All right, guys. We'll see you here again next Wednesday. Have a blessed rest of your day and week. Bye-bye.